fine. I'm going to start. Okay. So, and if y'all can't see me change slides, please let me know. I want to make sure you guys can see the slides that are happening. So we're talking about parenting styles today. If you are interested in being a teacher, if you are interested in managing a group of people, if you are interested in being a parent yourself one day, or psychology, because this has a lot to do with psychology, this is going to be fascinating to you. So do not read the word parenting and go, this does not apply to me. Stay with me, because there are some interesting things that you could learn here. I will say that if you if you're going to be an aunt one day, or again, you want to be an educator, this is going to apply. And again, it will apply also not just working with children, but working with people. So just hang with me. And again, people have opinions on this one, and I do want to know your thoughts as we go along. So feel free to blow up my chat. Love that. Okay, so we're going to talk today about 4 different styles of parenting. There are different styles of parenting. You can pretty much lump parenting into one of these 4 categories. I'm going to start. So here are the 4 categories, and I'll show you clips today. I'll show you memes and stuff, like lots to look at. Here are your 4 styles, and pretty much every type of parenting falls into here. Authoritarian, in the yellow box, talks about focus on obedience and punishment over discipline. This is your super strict, very no nonsense. It's about power. Like they said, it's about obedience. These are the parents who are like, you will do this, end of discussion. This will happen, or you're grounded for a month or whatever. Translating this into a teacher, this would be a teacher who is very, again, no nonsense, super strict. It's their way or the highway. They could be very forceful or controlling, and they're willing to give you in-school suspension or detention very easily. Then you've got down here in the pink, a permissive style of parenting. So permissive parents, somebody says I have a teacher like that this year. Yes, authoritarian teachers are kind of severe, right? They're authoritarian, anything is pretty severe. Permissive parenting is don't enforce the rules, kids will be kids. So you see the word permissive, it almost sounds like permission. It basically, they have permission to do whatever they want. That's the permissive parenting, is like, what are you going to do? They're going to do whatever. This is perhaps a parent who is going to maybe have an issue controlling their kid because their kid has been never told the word no, and they don't know how to act right because they don't know the word no. And so they kind of rule the roost. It's a difficult situation because there's a lot of burden on the kid to make decisions, and kids don't like having to make decisions. Like, as much as they like getting to do whatever they want, that having the kid run the house because they don't get told no puts a lot of stress on the kid. And so even though this looks really fun, this is like the fun parent who lets you do whatever you want, it actually can be a little too much for the kids in terms of like they're coping. They have a hard time. They want someone to provide structure, and this person's not providing the structure. For a teacher, this would look like a teacher who maybe gets walked all over in class. Like, people get to do whatever, they're talking over this person. The teacher's not really, following through on saying, well, I'm going to give you a pop quiz on this and you better pay attention. And then they don't. Or, they just kind of let people do whatever they want. They don't have a lot of control over the class. And as fun as those classes can seem, they can also be kind of chaotic. I have had classes like that before, and it's not fun. Like, it's fun for a minute and then it's not anymore. Yes. So if you guys have examples, please feel free. Yeah. Authoritative. So authoritative, it looks like authoritarian, but it's different. Authoritarian versus authoritative. It's the light blue. Creating a positive relationship and enforcing rules. This is the one we're going to go for. This is the one that we're going to strive for. And nobody's perfect. No parent is perfect because we're human. No teacher is perfect because they're human. No boss is perfect because they're human. The goal with authoritative parenting or management would be to create a positive relationship and to enforce the rules. So you're forming a bond, you've got a positive relationship, you're not controlling and being power domineering, but you're also not being super permissive. You are also enforcing rules. So there are boundaries, but there's also a warmer relationship there. And that's what we're going for. And the last one is the purple, which is uninvolved. So providing little guidance, nurturing, or attention. And you'll see here the kids just kind of playing by themselves with the parents watching TV. This does not, yeah, we love teachers like that, the authoritative, who are like, I'm going to hold you to an expectation, but I'm going to like try to create a relationship with you at the same time. I care about how you're doing. Going back to the uninvolved, this is not to say that parents can't watch TV every now and then. That's not what that means. But if you are checking out the whole time you're supposed to be engaged with the kid, that's going to take a really bad toll on the kid, because you will have no relationship at all and no guidance at all. With a teacher, this looks like a teacher who is just sitting on their computer the whole time, or scrolling their phone and just handing out work for you to do, and they don't do any teaching or instructing. They don't try to get to know you. It's really just like busy work on busy work, and I'm not really here, just please do your own thing. I've had teachers like that before, and nobody likes those classes either. They're not fun. So this is the 4 styles. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into them. So the first one we're going to talk about is authoritarian. Help me understand, if you can't see the screen, I want to make sure you can see it. So for a parent, they expect to follow strict rules. You have to obey. This is a parent who is about power. I'm in charge. I'm the parent. You have to listen to me. And if the kids don't follow the rules, they get punished. And it's about discipline. And it's about, you didn't do this, so da-da-da-da. Very much about power and control. Very strict. They don't really explain why rules should be obeyed. This is, you just have to do it. I just said so, just do it. But there's no like, don't, touch the hot stove because it will burn you. It's like, stop doing that. Don't do it. No explanation. And that's not good, because kids want to know why. It's important that if you decide to, I know, touch a hot stove, LOL. If you decide to become a parent one day, or you're working with kids or youth, or you are managing people, if there is a rule or a boundary, you should tell people why they're following it. You cannot do this because it's against our company policy, and the company policy is there to protect the organization. Or you, my child, cannot do this. You can't go over to that person's house because I don't know their parents. I need to have a relationship with their parents first before I will let you go. I have to make sure I have trust. Or if you're a teacher, you can't eat in my classroom because I already have a problem with ants and I don't want there to be more ants. Instead of just being like, stop eating in my classroom. And you're like, okay, well, but why? Like, I'm not hurting anything. Well, if you have a reason, let me know. You get more buy-in from people if you explain why. They punish kids who disobey. So they may not try to redirect them or coach them through it and say, can you talk to me why you did that? Like, that's not okay. Why are you making this decision? I have heard before that misbehavior is a communication. That means that if a kid is misbehaving, they're trying to tell you something, and you need to pay attention to it. If you are misbehaving, you're probably trying to tell somebody something, right? Either I need more attention, or I'm tired, or I'm being bullied, or I'm lonely, or I'm insecure, whatever it is. So that doesn't mean that you shouldn't acknowledge misbehavior if you're a parent and address it, but you need to see when somebody's acting up that is a message that they're trying to send you. When my son, I made this presentation years ago and I was not a parent yet, and I fixed it up today, but it was interesting to read this and be a parent myself and be like, okay, when my son starts not listening or pretending to ignore me or whatever, I know that that's a message to me. Usually it means he's tired. He starts to act up because he's tired. So what do I have to do? Where did I hear that? Wow, man. I went to school for education. I went to college to be a teacher. And so I probably heard it in one of my classes about classroom management, because they in college world are trying to get teachers away from just blanket punishing kids. They want, especially young kids, because I went for elementary education, they want teachers to know that if a kid comes into your classroom and is acting out, that there might be something deeper going on. Maybe they didn't sleep well last night, or maybe they are food insecure, and we need to address that by providing them some resources, because no one's going to, thrive and be attentive and engaged in learning if their needs are not met. Or maybe, their pet died and they're sad and angry and they're taking that out. So it's important to try to investigate that. I am not a teacher. I work in the clubhouse, which I do get to teach though, which I like. It's really fun. So I get to use what I learned in college, but I like being at the clubhouse. It's a fun job. So Very cool. All right. But they will be, going back to authoritarians, they will punish. It's very much punishment oriented. You, and I get to teach in PJs. Sometimes I am wearing hard pants today. So, although I have worn PJs before, they are controlling and power oriented. It's all about power for the authoritarian style. And they might use verbal threats or physical correction. We're not going to get into spanking today and what that, discipline wise as a correctional behavior or tool. We're not going to get into that. But I can say that in terms of like verbal threats in a classroom, that's only going to get you so far. I think the biggest way to earn the classroom's engagement and behavior is to earn respect and trust. So that's what I suggest. Since I'm recording, I'm stopping everybody's video. So no worries, that was on purpose. All right, so effect of parenting style on a child. So if it's an authoritarian, this is going to make a child really obedient because they basically are like, obey or you're going to get in trouble, like bad things. So they become very obedient and compliant. I know people whose parents are like this. I have had my own experience with authoritarian stuff. This is something that you'll see in teachers and parents. It makes them really good. The kid has to perform. The parents might have really high expectations for how they have to perform on their math class or grades, and if they don't perform, they're going to get in trouble. So they try very hard to please the parent and to do well. They may view their parent as an enemy because they might resent them for putting so much pressure on them, and they might be confused about what's right and wrong. Their compass of what's right and wrong is their parents' approval, instead of thinking like they might be willing to cheat instead of just fessing up when they don't have the right thing to turn in, because they don't want their parent to get mad at them. So they're willing to perhaps do something that's wrong, because in their mind it's not wrong. The only thing that's wrong is displeasing the parent. So they'll do what it takes, even if it's something wrong, to make sure that they please the parent. They might have low levels of happiness and self-esteem compared to children who don't have authoritarian parents. They might feel bad about themselves. All right. So less warmth and nurturing, high expectations, but low responsiveness. So they have it's not bad to have high expectations, but they're not like being very warm and very relational with their child. And they make mistakes are punished harshly. So you make a mistake, then you're going to get severely punished. Here we go. We've got a parent standing over a child. The child, maybe they're doing their homework, and look at all these bits of homework laying all over the floor because they've had to go over and over and over. Perhaps the parent is insisting they do it until it's exactly right. And that doesn't really, it's not really conducive to like a positive parenting experience. So the next style, permissive. So this comes from the movie Mean Girls. I'm not a regular mom. I'm a cool mom. The cool mom. Yes, LOL. I can't play that whole scene, but I just took the picture. So the parent has no firm rules. They're very lenient. Okay. They accept the child as they are. So they don't try to, there are not very many expectations, just be who you are. These two things don't sound very bad. Like to be lenient, to be flexible is okay. To accept your child for who they are is okay. It's not bad as an authoritarian to have high expectations of your kid, to expect that they listen to you when you ask them to do something. That's not bad, but it's like almost goes too far, if you know what I mean. They discipline through love and praise and affection. Like I'll praise you when something goes well. I'll encourage you, but and if you do something wrong, like my teacher got mad at me because I didn't turn in my homework, and it's like, there, honey, that teacher's so mean. I love you. I would never. Like there's a lot of that goes on. The child can do no wrong. The child is always right. Communicates and nurtures the child. Those are good things. But they do act more like a friend than a parent, which your kids, your students don't need a friend. They need whatever your role is. If your role is their parent, they need a parent. They don't need a friend. They can have friends at school. Friendship can come when you're both adults and they've grown up. Your students don't need another friend. They need a teacher, someone who can educate them. It's not your job to be their friend. Have I met someone like this? Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. I have met people like this, and it's it's interesting how that family dynamic goes. The kid basically gets whatever they want, but is never really completely satisfied. And it makes the parents really stressed out. The kids want structure. That doesn't mean they need everything organized. Okay. We don't need to have Monday through Friday underwear. Like, we don't need all that. But kids, especially small kids, need routine and need structure. And if you are not providing the structure, then it feels like chaos, and kids don't do well with that. Same thing in the classroom. If you're a teacher or a boss, also, and you're managing people and you don't have any rules or expectations, then they're just going to run amok. They're just going to go everywhere. Like, there's going to be people doing whatever they want because there's no boundaries. You got to have boundaries. But yes, I have seen parents like this. The effects of this on the child is they become very dependent on their parent. They don't know how to be without the parent and live independently and be grown, if you know what I mean. They have to have their parent to do all the hard work for them. Oh my gosh, I've seen this so much. College kids who are adults that rely on their parents to do things for them. College kids who have an issue with their professor and get their mom to call the professor. Excuse me, you're a college kid. You're an adult. You have a problem with your professor. That's what your email's for. Please talk to them and handle it like an adult, but they'll get their parent to come in and then the parent will do it. The parent will actually do it. Don't understand. It's crazy. It makes them irresponsible. It makes them lack self-control. Yes, I have friends that work at a local college, and this happens that parents will call with an issue that the student has, and the student is 18, 19 years old. The student is an adult, but the student is asking their parent to figure it out for them. Irresponsible, lack self-control. They're immature. They experience problems with authority because they've never, it's not something you would do. Experience problem with authority. Like, they don't respect authority because they've never had an authority figure to be there. The parent has kind of let them do whatever they wanted. So they don't know what to do with authority. And then they have problems in school. They don't know how to finish projects. They're not held to that high level expectation. Permissive parenting, usually very loving and nurturing, little to no attempts to discipline the kids, though. They're not really disciplining the kids. And then few rules and not much structure. So here are kids running around and the parent's just like, meh, what do I do? Don't know. Next, uninvolved. So this is very self-explanatory. The parent is just not around. Either they're physically not there or they are physically there, but mentally, emotionally not present. So they make few demands. So they don't really ask you to do much, but they're not very responsive, very low responsive to the child. They're not really, parents like this. Exactly. I've known some like this too. I have had friends whose parents have a lot of money, but they're gone a lot. And they would just like kind of throw money at the kids, and the kids would get to spend money on whatever they wanted, but that didn't make them happy. And in fact, they had a lot of issues in the family, a lot of dysfunction, because what the kids really wanted was structure, routine, love, warmth. And instead, they didn't have that. The parents were pretty uninvolved. So they just bought a bunch of stuff and got into a bunch of trouble because that's not what they wanted. So, yes. And then detached, but they fulfill their basic needs. So they might be like, oh, I'll give you what you want. Again, like, I'll give you money, like, go, here's the fridge full of food. Here's this, but I'm going to go peace out. See you later. And in extreme cases, they might reject or neglect the needs of the child. The effects of this is that the child has low self-esteem. They might feel neglected or abandoned. They lack self-control. Oh, I guess that was it. Let me go back. Seriously? Oh, okay. Didn't write as much on that slide as I thought. All right. Last is the democratic or authoritative. So I gave you democratic because authoritarian is the first one, and authoritative sounds very similar, but you could also say democratic. This is the one we're going for. If you're managing people or you're being an educator or you're having a kid eventually, this is what we're going for. This type of parent is responsive to the child. So they're going to hear them out. They're going to be engaged in their life. They'll support the child's decisions. I want to try out for baseball, says your child. Okay, how can we make that work? My kid really likes whatever. I will support that. Or, I decided I don't want to try out for baseball because I don't like sports, even if they come from a very athletic family and everybody's done sports. I come from a very musical family. Everyone in my family knows how to play piano. Everyone in my family took piano lessons for years. It's just something we did. But I want to make sure that I support my child. I'm not going to force him to take piano lessons if he hates it. I would love for him to try it out, but if it's not his gig, I'm going to support that decision because they have to grow into their own little people. I am trying to raise an adult. That's the point of parenting or teaching young people, is you're trying to get them to be a fully functioning, contributing adult. You're not raising a child who's going to stay a child. This is why with the permissive parenting, they, aren't able to make their own phone calls themselves or handle their business because they're not being raised to be a fully functional adult. So I am hoping to raise my son to be a fully functioning adult. So I have to see him like that. Right now, he's, 4 years old, and that's fine. I see him as a 4-year-old, but I know that one day he's not gonna be 4 forever. So I've got to make sure I prepare him and give him space to become that adult that he's going to be. So that means I've got to honor his decisions. His name is Micah. So I might guide and show by example. I might say, hey, this is how I feed the dogs. Now it is your job to feed the dogs. And that's exactly what we do in my house. I'm not saying I'm a perfect parent either. Like, I have made mistakes. Okay. I have made mistakes. And I have days that I do it well and days that I don't. But I do try to fall into this category. And one of those things we do is we give him chores that he can do, because he needs to contribute around the house. It's important. You live here, you're going to help out. Everybody in the family does their part, minus the 1-year-old who is 1. He'll still pick up toys when I ask him to sometimes. But when you get old enough to understand the concepts, you're going to start to take care of your stuff. So his job is to feed the dogs. And so I showed him how to do it. And then we guide him through that process. And we encourage him to it. And that gives him some, ownership of our, goings on in the house. So willing to discuss their choices and their reasoning behind them. So instead of being like, no, you can't try out for drama. We don't do drama in this house. You would sit there and be like, let's talk about that. Tell me why you want to do drama. And they might say, I'm very passionate about it. I love it. It makes me feel happy. That's my safe space. Okay, let's do it. Let's see how we can make it work. Disciplinary methods are nurturing and forgiving. They're not punitive. Punitive means punishing. So you're not trying to all the time punch your kid. Does this mean you never discipline your child? No. But you try to talk through it and get on the same level and get them to understand where you're coming from, instead of just being like, hand me your phone. You're done. You might say, you know what? We had boundaries and expectations about the phone. You did X, Y, or Z. That was not okay. So you understand that because you did this, you have to give me the phone. The other thing would be letting kids choose their punishment. I've seen people do that too, where it's like, that you did something you were not supposed to do. I want you to pick your punishment. And if I agree, then we'll do it. And so the kid might be, well, I can't go over to so-and-so's house this weekend. And the parent might say, okay, I agree to that. And then they're done. So then you let the kid be in the driver's seat of the punishment. And so, but if they're like, oh, well, maybe I, sweep the kitchen, they might be like, nope, needs to be different than that, or bigger than that, or, more involved. Want the child to be socially responsible, self-regulated, and cooperative. They need to manage themselves. The effects of this is that they become good decision makers. I'm going to try to do this. Yes. Independent, but seek help when needed. I'll be honest. When I'm not doing well, I tend towards the authoritarian. I try to do this. I think this is what I do most of the time. But if I get really stressed, I tend to be more like, no, you need to listen to me. And I told you to do this and you did it. And I have to take a step back when I do that, because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't really yield the results I want. My kid just gets really stressed out when I start to be like that. So I have to have several seats and then try to refocus back into this mindset, because it makes kids independent and they seek help when they need it. It makes them happier and more capable and successful. Authoritarian parenting, so expressing warmth and nurturance. They encourage independence. We want you to do your thing. Administer fair and consistent discipline. So here we go. The kid's helping out around the house, so is the parent. Sounds great. So we're going to watch some clips. I hope that this shows up. So this is an example of authoritarian parenting. And you guys will recognize this movie. I hope it doesn't show an ad, but y'all know that that happens from time to time. Oh, here we go. Hope y'all can see that. Let me know if you can't.
I'm the princess. I'm the example. I've got duties, responsibilities, expectations. My whole life is planned out, preparing for the day I become, well, my mother. She's in charge of every single day of my life. I'm Robin, jolly Robin, and thou shalt know of my Roche, and thou shalt know of mine.
Enunciate, you must be understood from anywhere in the room, or it's all for naught.
This is all for naught.
I heard that. From the top, a princess must be knowledgeable about her kingdom. She doesn't doodle. That's a C, dear. A princess does not be short-haul. Doesn't stuff her gob. Rises early, is compassionate, patient, cautious, clean, and above all, a princess strives for.
Okay, so you hear my dogs are freaking out. Give me one moment. I'm going to go shut my door. Give me a second. I'm sure you'll still be able to hear them, but maybe it'll be a little less loud. And I locked the door. So that was an example of authoritarian parenting. If you haven't seen that movie, the mom is really strict, and she is insisting. She's like, that's the wrong note. You need to project. You don't chortle. You need to say this louder. You don't sit like that. You need to, like, she's very, she's very, and the daughter is just rolling her eyes, and she's over it, and she's like, oh, because that's what happens with a parent who's like such high. She's like, and above all, you strive for perfection. And that's what the mom wants. She wants her kid to be perfect. And if you're not perfect, that's not acceptable, right? So next, we'll watch an example of permissive parenting, which is also interesting. Give me just a second. Y'all probably recognize this movie too. Here we go.
I know, Angel. We're doing the best we can. I've got every girl on the bleeding staff hunting for you.
All right, where is it? Why haven't they found it?
Baruka, sweetheart, I'm not a magician. Give me time.
I want it now. What's the matter with those twats down there?
You're going to be very unpopular around here, Henry, if you don't deliver soon.
It breaks my heart, Henrietta. I hate to see her unhappy.
I won't talk to you ever again. You're a rotten, mean father. You never give me anything I want. And I won't go to school till I have it.
Baruka, sweetheart, Angel. Now, there are only 4 tickets left in the whole world, and the whole ruddy world's hunting for them. What can I do?
Thank God for that. Happiness is what counts for children. Happiness and harmony.
Sorry. So very interesting. Willy Wonka, little girl. Thank you. Yes, I thought it was a good example too. Little girl throughout the movie. If you haven't seen it, she's just a brat. And this is because the parents have given her everything she wanted. She wants to win the golden ticket. So they've got a whole factory of workers opening up candy bars as fast. This is permissive because they are giving like permissiveness to everything. And they're not saying no, there are no boundaries. This girl says, I want the golden ticket. And instead of saying, maybe I'll buy you a candy bar, and if you get it, great. And if you don't, that's fine. Instead, they're saying, okay, honey, whatever you want. And they're letting their whole factory look for these candy bars. And she's calling her dad names. And he's not saying, that's inappropriate. You don't talk to me like this. Instead, he's just being like, I'll get you the ticket, I promise. And all that matters is kids' happiness. Like, that's what he said. Your kid is not going to be happy all the time, especially if you start laying down boundaries and expectations. and they don't meet them, especially if they let you down and you've got to talk to them about it. They're not going to like that. And so, but they are letting her do whatever she wants. And that's permissive parenting. So let's go back to our presentation. Next. Nope. All right. So here are some thoughts for you to ponder. Which parenting style do you think is the most effective? I kind of gave it away. I'm interested. I'm also not saying that only one of these works. There are plenty of parents who kind of fall in a bunch of different things. The one I do, thank you so much. Y'all are so complimentary. Democratic is a great way of parenting or instructing if you're a teacher or whatever. Like having I'm going to be relational. I'm going to respect you. I have expectations of you, but we're going to talk through it. That's what we try to do at the clubhouse. We try to do like, this is what we expect. We always say to kids who come to the clubhouse, you already have our respect. You could lose it by doing something to break our trust, but you come in and we respect. I talk to every kid at the clubhouse like they're an adult. And again, that's because I believe you're almost adults and I want to hold you to that standard. That doesn't mean that you are adults right now, but it means that my expectation of you is that you will act maturely and respectfully. I'm going to talk to you with, intelligence. I'm not going to talk down to you. That's not who I am. It's part of the democratic thing, but that also means you start doing something that doesn't jive with how we do things at the clubhouse. You start breaking rules that we lay, which we don't have that many rules. So like you start to disrespect, and now we're going to have a conversation. So that's what we try to do. Uninvolved does not work. So there's a big X next to that one because being uninvolved is the only one that we're going to say here that's not effective. You cannot really parent well if you're totally checked out. That's just not going to happen. Same thing with teaching. You're not going to teach anybody anything if you're sitting on your phone scrolling all day. Permissive, there's an there because permissive parenting, can it work? Can kids end up fine? Absolutely. Plenty of people end up from permissive parents totally fine. But there are plenty of kids who also are, left trying to scramble after leaving their house, being like, wait, my parents never taught me how to be grown. Or I'm in college, but I'm going to call my mom to go talk to my professor for me. That's the stuff that happens. So you get kids who are fine, and then you get kids who are going to struggle. And then authoritarian, same thing. Meh. You get some kids who are really high achieving. They do well. They're successful. They're independent, but they're unhappy. And they feel like they got something to prove all the time. But then you also get kids who are totally fine and do well and are okay. So those are the ones that's like, meh. What if parents don't share the same parenting style? So what happens then? So they should have complementary styles then. Authoritarian with a permissive parent, as an example, like somebody who's like, okay, I'll let you do whatever you want, but then somebody will balance it out. It's like, no, I have rules and boundaries, blah, blah, blah. I do think parents should be on the same page. I think complementary is that's one way to do it. But like, I think ideally there should be conversations between parents about how they're going to raise a kid and what kind of discipline we're going to do. So it can backfire when they're different. Absolutely. I've seen this gone wrong before, where you've got like, and I'm just going to use an example here. I think it's kind of a cliche that the mom is really strict and the mom is really do this. And the dad's like, do whatever you want. I'm the fun dad. Let's have fun. Just an example. I know it can be reversed. I know it can be different, but that can seem like something where mom is the bad cop and dad's the good cop, where and we don't like that either. I would suggest people get on the same page about how you're going to raise your kids, hopefully before you have them or as you're, entering into that. My husband and I are, we both work in jobs that we have to work with kids and youth. And so we have a lot of like thought on this already about what it means to work with kids and what it means to work with teenagers. He also works with college students. And so what that needs to look like as a leader. So we luckily had a lot of experience coming into that when we became parents, but some people don't. And it's good to take parenting classes especially if you're going to have a kid and you're like, okay, I don't know what to do. Like, help. Parenting classes are great for that. Here are the different ones. You want to get, kids are really fun. This is just a little comic. Here's a mom and a dad, and they're watching TV, and the kid wants to have a tea party. And the mom says, not now. There's a show on about how to be a good parent. Anybody get why that might be why somebody would make a comic like this? The point being that if you want to be a good parent, you should be, yeah, she's ignoring the child. She's watching a show about how to be a good parent, and the kid's right there wanting to play tea party. Be a good parent by engaging with your kid and playing tea party. You don't need to find that out by watching a movie, just engage with them. So that's the point there of that one. It's like, oh no, I'm going to watch a show about being a good parent. Instead of watching a show about being a good parent, just go be a parent, go be with your kid. Okay. So when I made this presentation a few years ago, this show did not exist, and now it exists, and I love it. Let me first say, this is a children's show. It is Bluey, and it's on Disney Plus. It comes out of Australia. This show is fantastic. If you haven't seen the show, it is stellar. Yes, it's made for kids. My kids love it, but honestly, my husband and I watch it. We crack up. It is funny. They throw a lot of adult little things in there, which is really fun. But what's also great about this show is they have a lot of ideas about parenting and games that they have about parenting and ways to relate to your kid thrown in there. So if you want to know how to be a good parent, you should probably just watch Bluey, because it's really just like made for people who have kids, and it's funny and they get it. It's called Bluey. That's the name of the dog. So it's a family of blue heelers. They're dogs. I have a blue heeler, actually. That was one of the dogs barking a minute ago. So here is what's going on with the Bluey. Their parents are really engaged and involved with the kids. So it's a mom and a dad dog and two little girl dogs. And they're always playing games with them and being imaginative with them. When the kids misbehave or they are struggling, they will redirect them, or they will talk it through with them. They validate their feelings. They don't ever blow or dismiss their feelings off. They're just like, whatever, like, no, let's talk about that. Why are you sad? Bingo. Why are you sad, Bluey? Because that's the names of the two girls. And then they'll talk about boundaries. Like, it's okay. Like when somebody says no, it means no. So I'm going to show y'all just a brief clip of it. It is so fun. This show just makes me feel good. I don't watch kids shows for fun. That's not my hobby, but I do have them on in the background from time to time because I have children. And some of the kids shows out there are complete trash, complete garbage. Okay. This show is not garbage. This show is really well made and has a lot of good messages in it and ways to be a better parent. So I'm going to show you just a clip. This clip is going to be of the mom. Her name is Chili. She's a chili dog, LOL. But she's playing a game with them called Keepy Uppy. And just the idea that they're really engaged and interested. Yes, Keepy Uppy's a fun game. All right. And then we'll be done after this, y'all. So just bear with me. I appreciate it.
And that's just basic movie guy maintenance, right? Next up, Carvana. Oh boy, Carvana.
Skip. Okay, back to it. Keepy Up. It's up there, but y'all, it's so great. If y'all want to see the clip, I'll put it in the Discord. The episodes are only 7 minutes long, so they're really digestible. They're all on Disney Plus, but there's some on YouTube if you wanted to find it. But yeah, what I like about that clip, every episode is just great for showing parenting, but that one is really good because the mom gets really involved with playing the game. She also has boundaries where they're like, come play with us. She's like, sorry, I have to cook breakfast. And she's not rude. She's not mean. She's not, y'all need to quit doing that in my kitchen. Get out of here. She's like, sorry, you just can't do it. So she's being able to do her own thing. So she's not permissive because she's not being like, oh, okay, I guess I'll cook later. No, she's saying, nope, I have something to do. We all have fun. Enjoy. And the dad's really involved too. And he's making the game more interesting and playing along with it. So it's really good. They have some deeper ones, some more emotional ones. They have ones that talk about the end of life, and there's a pet that passes away. There's one talking about meeting a friend and the friend moves away, and so dealing with tough topics too, and how to be a parent. They talk about when someone wants to say no, it means no. We honor when people are having a boundary. So they do a really good job with parenting. There's one of my favorites is one called Mom School, where Bluey, the little blue dog, is being a mom, and she has like a bunch of balloons again, and she's like pretending they're all her kids. And at the end of the day, one of the balloons pops, and she has like a bunch of like, things go wrong with it, and she's like, I failed at Mom School. And her mom is standing next to her and it's like, yeah, but you just try again the next day. Everybody fails in Mom School sometime. So that's the thing. I guess the biggest takeaway is like, if you try hard and you care about doing well, about being a good parent, about having boundaries, but also being nurturing, having a relationship and being engaged, then you're going to do okay. You're also going to make mistakes. If you're working with kids as a teacher, if you're working with other people, you're going to screw up. There's going to be times where you lash out and you're like, I was too controlling. And there'll be times where you're like, I should have said no to that. And I let them do whatever they wanted. And that's okay. We all fail. We just try again the next day, right? That's the big takeaway from parenting, is that try your best. You're not going to be perfect. And then you just try again the next day. And, you'll figure it out as you go. Even if you're not actually the parent, you're just like a teacher or an aunt or whatever, you'll figure it out. So that's it, y'all. Questions, comments, concerns in the chat about parenting styles. I'll go ahead and stop the recording.